All right, and we are live today. We're on Zoom as well as on Facebook Live. So thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for being here. This is day 3. Time does fly. Yesterday we talked about my story and how it was a wake-up call. So today we're going to look at something that I call our prison sentence. And I know that doesn't sound good. I'm not talking about a real prison sentence. We're going to talk about it a little more. As always, just be here, be present, be ready to implement what we're going to talk about today, and be in the moment, because that's really, really important. At any point, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in and ask either on the chat or as well on the Zoom call over here. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is really the ABCs of human personality. And what do I mean by the ABCs of human personality? Well, let's look at it first, right? A stands for action, B stands for belief, and C stands for consequences, right? So beneath every action that we take, the way we see the world and how you see that world is actually going to create that particular world, right? So beneath your actions is what is going to be created. So what actions you take are really, really important. Now, underneath this comes how you speak your world. So what you say is really, really important, right? How many times have we been told, be careful what you say? So anything that was ever created was always spoken, right? You look at even the most basic of all scriptures, right? The Quran talks about Iqra, when Prophet Muhammad got his first message, we're in the month of Ramadan. And, that's when the Quran was revealed to him. It started out with the word. The world was created with the word. And so it's really, really important. And underneath that comes how you see the world. So how you see the world will determine how you speak and what you want to create. So if you work from bottom up, right? How you see the world is what you're going to speak, which is going to create actions, which in return, your actions will create the words that you're speaking, which is going to create how do you see the world. And so there's this interrelationship between the three that is really, really important. And we need to be cognizant of that. Does this make sense? We're good there? Yeah. All right. Excellent. So why is the power of words so important? Now, for those of you that have heard about the rice experiment or water experiment, I have a picture of 3 jars over here from left to right. And each one of this was filled with rice and water, and that was left alone. Now, anybody guess what the difference is between the 3? All right. Well, let me tell you. The difference is that on the left-hand jar, you can see that the water is still clear. In the middle jar, it's actually really, really gucky. And on the right-hand side jar, it is sort of muggy, but not as bad as the one in the middle. Now, what I've not told you is that these jars are all left for a long time just to stand by themselves. And on the other side of the jar is where letters were written onto these jars. So on the left-hand side of the jar was the letter love, or the word love. In the middle jar was the word hate. And on the right-hand side, it was actually left alone. And it's really important to have a look at all 3 of them, because what ends up happening is that when you actually share love, you speak positive words, then positive energy is created. And the shape of the crystals actually change when you have the word love that's there. When you have a negative word, such as hate in there, then what ends up happening is that negative word will actually create a crystal that is gucky. The water is not drinkable, the rice is not edible. And so it creates a structure that is irregular, as opposed to a regular structure that looks like a snowflake when you have the word love. Now, often people say, what if I don't do either? And so when you don't do either, it's actually just as bad as doing something. Now, sorry, just as bad as having a negative word. And so you can see that on the right-hand side, it's still gucky. And, for those of us that are parents, this is a really good reminder that as we're growing our kids and we're raising them, often if our own child was to show up in a torn jersey, we will tell them something. But you see a child on the street with torn jersey and you will just ignore it. You will not do anything. And the reason why we even tell somebody something to correct, although not negative, is because there is a sense of love involved in it. So as long as you're not doing it out of anger and resentment, but out of love, then even that correction or negativity or saying something is better than not saying anything, because that love will make a change. It's really, really important. And so our power of words have impact. There is an experiment that's done, and there is different kinds of words and music that was attached to water, and you can see the shape of the crystals that are created when you have different impact on water. When you have compassion, you have a beautiful star that looks like a snowflake. Look at thank you, almost something that you would see in a religious establishment. Same thing with wisdom. And yet when you look at heavy metal music, there is a blur. The word I will kill you actually creates total breakdown of the crystal. And even a simple word that we use so often in our vocabulary, like you fool, right? Look at the structure that it creates. And so when we look at the power of words, it's really, really important that we make sure that every word that we say has an impact. Now, I even go further. I say, that the universe sort of opens a window. Unfortunately, we don't know where that window is. And it's that minute window that actually the universe listens. And you got to be really, really careful when that universe is listening to you. So you need to be careful of your words at every point in time, because that wish will be created and the universe does not have a judgment of good or bad. So you need to be careful what you're saying. So how we see the world is how we create the word, right? Every action, beneath action is the way you see the world. How you see the world creates the world. So you speak and everything underneath is what you will create. And so when you want to create, you want to make sure you're creating the words that you want to say. And that's what's being created, because at the end of this presentation, at the end of the 21 days, we are going to talk about the power of manifestation, and it all starts with words. And so the reason why we're feeling setbacks and stuff like that is, and why I bring this, the concept of words so early in our presentation through the 21-day journey, is because I want you to know what is that sentence, that word that keeps on repeating to yourself that you are seeing that is always bringing you a setback or a fallback or a challenge, right? I'm going to stop for just maybe 30 seconds. And can you go through these words, both positive and negative, and see what's coming up for you? And not just right now, think about the last 6 months, because at the end of today, I'm going to give you a short exercise to do. But what are the words that are really, really resonating with you? So let's say if you were to pick 3 from positive and 3 from negative and just write them down, that's all we need to do today. All right, I'm going to move on. And if what I'll do is I'll post this slide in the Facebook group. So if you want to go back and have a look at it, it will be there for you. So you'll be able to pick those words. Now, here's the thing, right? We create a perfect system based on those emotions that we have. So for instance, if I have a challenge, right? And I say, you know what? It's a cloudy day today. Let's take an example of today. Like in Toronto, today is a cloudy day. So now I'm going to start saying in my mind, oh, it's a cloudy day. It's a miserable day. I feel down. I don't feel like working. I don't want to go outside. I don't want to work. That cloud system that has nothing to do with me is now creating my whole perfect system of how I'm going to interact with somebody else, how I'm going to interact with myself, how I am creating the life around me because of something that I can't even control. And so if I were to take that and then be able to change that and be aware of it every time, does that change the way I look at things? Right? So when you look at your challenge, it's great to use this system over here and say, my challenge is this, and see how you're creating the perfect system on it. And when we start looking at it, this is where the prison sentence comes in. So everyone has a sentence that keeps on running in their mind. And that is what I call a prison sentence, because if you hold on to that sentence long enough, you are now creating a boundary for yourself or an environment for yourself that's actually blocking you into that, and you're not being able to see outside of it or to be able to go out. Although you are a being that has choice at every moment in your life, you have created your own prison. So I invite you, when you look at those words that you picked, the 3 positive emotions and the 3 negative emotions, and say, what is the sentence that you are using that is holding you back using the negative emotions that you have? And can you then use the positive emotions to break yourself out of the prison? And I will go one step further and say, often we don't just have one sentence, we have multiple sentences. I am not good enough. I have to work hard. I have to prove myself. I feel sad all the time. I feel I'm not capable enough. You know, all of those emotions that we have in ourselves, that we create these sentences within us that are holding us back into a prison. So I invite you to write down your prison sentences, and then we will learn how to break free of those prison sentences that we have created, because it is not the setback that's an issue. It is the sentence that we have given ourselves that's creating a setback. Right? Our thoughts and our perception, like I said before, creates our reality. So you will all know I love telling stories, right? And today's day would not end without a story. So there's a story about a wise woman who sat by the roadside and was asked by a traveler on a horseback, "What is the town ahead like?" Well, she responded by asking, "Well, what was the place that you just left like?" So the story goes that the man responded, "Frankly, I found the townspeople to be very unfriendly, quite rude. They even cheated on me in a business deal. And I believe I paid too much for my room and board." And the wise woman responded, "Well, guess what, my friend? You'll find the town ahead just like the one you are coming from." An hour passes by, and another rider comes by and sees the old woman and asks her the same question. "What is the town ahead like?" Again, she responded, "What was the town like where you just left?" And the rider answered, "Why, they were a friendly lot, quite reasonable in their business dealings, and very fair on their pricing for their room and board." The wise woman responded, "Well, the town ahead is just like the town you are coming from. It is not that we don't see the things that the way they are. We see them the way we want to see them. The expression, of course, goes, no matter where you go, there you are. Our thoughts and our perceptions create our reality." Let me repeat that. Our thoughts and our perceptions create our reality. Right? So we often blame the environment, the weather, like I say, you know, creating the perfect system. The weather is so bad, nobody's going to come to. If you had a business and the weather was bad, well, the weather is really bad, nobody's going to come today. Right? The weather is so bad, nobody's going to do anything today. The weather is too bad, I don't want to go to church today. The weather is too bad, I don't want to take the kids out for a walk today. It's creating that perfect system that we want. But that is our system. Now, often when we're in this situation, what we do is we say, "I hope things get better," right? "I hope the weather gets better because I have to barbecue today." Well, hope, unfortunately, is not a plan. Right? Hope does not produce consistent results. Intelligent action does. Let me repeat that. Hope does not produce consistent results. Intelligent action does. So we need to make sure that we take that hope above. Now, I want you to underline this to you. There is a difference between hope and faith. I am not underlining that you should not have faith. Faith is a critical aspect of us getting through our lives on a daily basis, but we cannot put or hang our hats on hope, because we need to add that intelligent action beyond that. And so part of the 21-day journey and the part of the things that I work with my client is that how do we create those intelligent actions so that we take this prison sentence, break away from that prison sentence, get away from the setbacks that we're having, and creating and designing the life that we desire, right? I'm going to end with this final thing, which is almost going to take me just over 15 minutes. But I've said this so many times that Wayne Dyer has said, right? If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I'm going to end with the story, and before I give you the exercise, and it's about Pablo Picasso. Pablo Picasso is, hanging around at an exhibition of his paintings in Paris, and he was approached by a man who asked Picasso, why didn't he paint people the way they look? Well, Picasso asked, how do they look? And the man took a photograph of his wife from the wallet and handed it over to Picasso. Picasso looked at the picture and then, handing it back, said, ooh, she is awfully small, isn't she? And flat too. We have to accept the fact that much of what seems real to us is governed by our perceptions, right? So what was beautiful to that man, Picasso looked at it very differently. And the value that we see that the person has seen is totally, totally different. So what I invite you for today, and I will post these things in the questions in our Facebook group today, is can you do a self-reflection of yourself and say, what is going in my life that is right at this time? What am I most grateful for? Write down at least 10 things without repeating themselves. What have you accomplished in the last 6 months that you are humbled about? Who are you becoming? Because we change every day. And to do that, list 5 big wins from the last 6 months. But then can you also write down 5 small, tiny victories from the last 6 months? I will post this, and I will post the emotions in our Facebook group. I want to thank you for being with us today. Tomorrow, we talk about pure energy and how we are energy beings, and we can tap into that energy to be able to change our vibrations. I thank you all for joining. I will stay on the line if anybody has any questions, but I did commit to 15 minutes for the presentation today. But as always, I ask you, what are 3 takeaways that you have received? If you can post that in the Facebook group, I would be much humbled and appreciative. Thank you, and have an awesome day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, Rhonda. Give me a second. I got us. All right, let's do this.